TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel's outgoing Defense Minister Yoav Gallant warns of significant security challenges on the rise, which Israel's defense establishment must prepare for. Hezbollah's Secretary General Naim Qassem, after reportedly fleeing Lebanon to Iran, declares that the outcome of his terror group's war with Israel will be determined in the battlefield. The Islamic Republic of Iran tries to reassure followers of the Ayatollah regime that it is well prepared for anticipated austerity measures by the soon-to-be formed administration of President-elect Donald Trump. Israel will face rising security challenges as it finds itself in a critical juncture. Outgoing Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant met with the IDF General Staff for a farewell meeting, during the course of which he praised the top military brass for its prowess in facing the difficult moments of October 7th and the manner in which they recovered and pushed the enemies of Israel dozens of years backwards, effectively changing the strategic balance in the Middle East.
הפורום הזה נושא על הכתפיים שלו את מסע הביטחון.
Look, this forum carries on its shoulders matters of security and leads in managing the war in a very impressive manner over the past year. This is a very tough, lengthy, and justified war, and I think that you're doing it in a very impressive manner. The war of 7 fronts, from Tehran all the way to Gaza. I observed you from the toughest moments of October 7th. I also saw you in the moments of recovery, and I witnessed the IDF making unprecedented achievements, and the defense establishment bringing about unprecedented achievements that were never witnessed. We changed the balance of power in the Middle East. From Gaza to Tehran, from Hodeidah to the Diyah in Beirut, all of these places experienced things that had never occurred in the past. We returned our enemies dozens of years backwards.
Jerusalem's outgoing top defense official went on to address the core reason that cost him his post, stressing that while Israel's defense establishment faces a rise of significant security challenges, it has no other choice but to expand the circle of enlistment from sectors within Israeli society that must share the burden of serving in Israel's defense establishment.
Also, during the most difficult hours, I witnessed in the defense establishment, and in the IDF in particular, the steel wall and fist of iron, defending the state of Israel and preserving it. The goal was always the defense of the state of Israel. It is forbidden to be something else. It was never different. Therefore, I never lent a hand, and I will never be party to a scenario of harming the IDF or the other defense organizations, from the soldiers in the field all the way to the chief of general staff, and of course, all that are in between them. I think that it is a wrong phenomenon, and we must push back against it. I think that the security challenges are significantly rising. The significance is that we will require more resources. First and foremost, we will require more people. This means people that share the burden of service. Thousands of them. We will have to draft larger portions of Israel's society so that they may become partners to this effort. This will be a challenging task, but I'm certain that we will prevail because we find ourselves in a critical juncture.
Meanwhile, on Israel's northern front, heavy exchanges of fire were reported throughout the Lebanese sector over the course of the past 24 hours alone. While the Iranian proxy Hezbollah launched well over 400 rockets and other types of projectiles toward Israel from Lebanese territory, the IDF conducted some 6 dozen aerial strikes on Hezbollah's military infrastructure in Bekaa Valley, Baalbek, as well as the Dahya in Beirut. Meanwhile, Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem who is believed to have fled Lebanon to Iran, delivered a televised address to his followers, declaring that the conclusion of the war would ultimately be determined on the battlefield.
متى تتوقف هذه الحرب العدوانية؟ أنا رح أقول
When will this offensive war
بوضوح
end?
كامل قناعتنا
I will answer this in
أن أمرا
complete clarity.
واحدا فقط هو الذي يوقف هذه الحرب
We are
العدوانية
convinced that only one thing can
وهو
end this
الميدان
aggressive war, and that
بقسمين
is the battlefield in its two
الحدود
sections.
ومواجهة المقاومين
Firstly, the
للجيش
confrontation of
الإسرائيلي
the
على
resistance
الحدود
fighters to the Israeli
والثاني
army on the
هو
border, and
الجبهة
secondly,
الداخلية
the internal
وأن تصل
Israeli
إليها
front, which has to be targeted by
الصواريخ
planes and missiles
والطائرات
until it pays a
حتى
true price,
تدفع
and to
ثمنا
understand that this
حقيقيا
is not a war that can
وتعلم
be
أن
won by
هذه الحرب
Israel.
ليست حربا قابلة لأن ينجح فيها الإسرائيلي.
Qassem, who essentially begged Israel to end the war in recent weeks, has altered his tone once he managed to flee Lebanon to Iran, where he appears to think he is safe.
نحن لن نبني توقع
We do
وقف
not build an
العدوان
expectation of
على
stopping the
حراك
aggression through
سياسي
political action,
ولن نستجدي
and we will not beg for the
لإيقاف
aggression to
العدوان.
end. We will make
سنجعل
the enemy
العدو
be the one
هو
asking for an
الذي
end to the
يسعى
aggression.
إلى المطالبة بوقف العدوان. عندما يقرر العدو
When the
وقف
enemy
العدوان
decides to stop the aggression,
هناك طريق
there will be a path
للمفاوضات
to negotiations that we have
حددناه
defined clearly.
بشكل واضح. التفاوض غير المباشر
We
عبر
demand
الدولة
indirect
اللبنانية
negotiations through the Lebanese
والرئيس
state and
بري
parliamentary speaker Nabi
الذي
Berry,
يحمل
who holds the banner
راية
of the political
المقاومة
resistance,
السياسية
which leads to Lebanon's
التي
stature
تؤدي
and the
إلى
end of the aggression.
مكانة لبنان وتؤدي إلى وقف العدوان.
The Iranian puppet went on to address the outcome of the elections in the United States, claiming that from Hezbollah's perspective, there is no difference between outgoing Vice President Kamala Harris and President-elect Donald Trump.
حتى نحن الآن لا نبني لا على الانتخابات الأمريكية
Even
سواء
now,
نجح
we don't build hopes on the American
نجحت
elections
هاريس أو
whether
نجح
Harris
ترامب
succeeds
ما
or
إلى
Trump
قيمة بالنسبة
succeeds.
لنا
This is of
ولا
no value
نعول
to us.
على الحراك
We also
السياسي
do not rely
العام
on general
ولا
political
نعول
maneuvering.
على
We also don't rely on
اكتفى
thinking that
نتنياهو
Netanyahu is
ببعض
satisfied with
المكتسبات
some of his
لا
gains.
حنعول على الميدان
No, we will rely on the
حنخليه يدرك
battlefield.
تماما
We will
أنه
make him
في
understand
الميدان
clearly that on the
خاسر
battlefield he is a loser and
وليس
not a winner,
رابحا
and that this loss will
وهذه
prevent him from
الخسارة
carrying out his objectives.
ستمنعه من تحقيق أهدافه.
We as the resistance in Hezbollah
بالنسبة
have only
إلينا
one option, and
كحزب
that is to
الله
prevent the
كمقاومة
occupation from fulfilling
خيارنا
its
الحصري
goals.
هو منع الاحتلال من تحقيق أهدافه.
It is important to know that Hezbollah's masters in Tehran, per an FBI investigation, made proactive efforts to influence the elections in the United States in support of the Democrat candidate at the time, namely outgoing Vice President Kamala Harris. Nevertheless, in an official statement by the spokeswoman of the Iranian government, the Ayatollah regime sought to convey that it doesn't believe the outcome of the US election would ultimately have much impact on the Islamic Republic.
انتخاب رئیس جمهور ایالات متحده خیلی
The U.S.
ربط
presidential
مشخصی به ما
election
نداره
doesn't
و
have
هر
a
حال
significant
سیاست‌های
direct impact
کلی
on us,
آمریکا و
as the
سیاست‌های
overall
کلی
policies of
نظام
both the
جمهوری
U.S.
اسلامی
and the Islamic
سیاست‌های
Republic of
ثابتی است.
Iran
خیلی
are
هم با
relatively stable.
افراد در واقع
Major
این موضوع
changes aren't likely to
جابجایی‌های
occur due to
سنگین و
change of
جدی
leaders.
نخواهد داشت.
Preparations
پیش‌بینی‌های
and
لازم از
necessary
قبل هم
forecasts were
برنامه‌ریزی
made in
شده بود
advance,
اینکه در واقع
anticipating that there wouldn't be a
تغییری
shift
در
in people's
معیشت
living
مردم به
conditions.
وجود نیاد از قبل
So it
پیش‌بینی‌های
doesn't
لازم
matter
انجام
much
شده بود
who
و
is
عرض می‌کنم
elected
خیلی
president in the
فرقی
U.S.
نمی‌کنه که چه کسی در ایالات متحده بخواد رئیس جمهور باشه.
It is important to know that President Donald Trump has tapped the former U.S. Special Envoy Brian Hook, who effectively enforced a crippling maximum economic pressure campaign on Iran, as the man in charge of the transition team for the U.S. State Department, which is a clear signal that the Ayatollah regime will soon face a new American foreign policy that won't tolerate Tehran's belligerence. Nevertheless, in an effort to alleviate concerns among Ayatollah regime supporters, the Iranian government is now trying to convince itself that it is well prepared.
الان کشور خیلی نگران این که ترامپ رأی
Right
آورده
now,
نیست.
the
خب چه فرقی
country isn't
میکنه؟ به هر حال
overly
مگر
concerned
که
about Trump winning.
خیلی فرق
What
زیادی
difference does
وجود
it
داشت
make?
بین این دو
Was
تا.
there
خیلی از
really a
نظر ما
big
فرقی
difference?
نمیکنه
For
و
many of us, it
چه
doesn't
بودجه‌ای
matter
که
much,
کشور
and the
دیده و چه
necessary
تمدیداتی
measures
که
for
از
the
قبل هم
economic
پیش بینی
security
شده
of the
بود برای
country
امنیت
have already
اقتصادی
been
کشور
prepared,
پیش
so
بینی‌های
there's no
لازم
need for
انجام شده و
worry.
جای هیچ
The
گونه
sanctions
نگرانی
have
نیست.
significantly
عرض می‌کنم
strengthened
تحریم‌ها
Iran's
مقدار
internal
زیادی
resilience,
قوه
and
داخلی ما رو
today
تقویت
Iran's
کرده و
economy has the
اقتصاد امروز
capacity
به
to
اندازه
withstand
کافی
these challenges.
در این راستا توان برخورد رو داره.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Separately, if you're blessed by productions which are exclusively donation-based, please consider supporting our programs with a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.